Hi everyone, my name is Beacon. I'm the Poi mechanic, and today I'm showing you a video on how to make contact balls with Flowtoys pod capsule inserts. These are the same Flowtoys capsules that go into the Flowtoys pod Poi. And I also have LED handles on the ends of my Poi here, which are super nice. They're really well weighted and worth a little extra effort if you want to put into it to get glow on your Poi handles as well. So today I'm just going to show you how to put the inserts into the contact balls, but I have other videos out there that will show how to put the swivels on 3/8 inch rope, which not a lot of people actually do. And then also how to put these LED lights inside your grips. So first of all, I use Mr. Babashi 100mm stage balls. They're the glow style balls. They have amazing lighting properties, so when you put the lights in these, they just transfuse the light really well. I really like them. There's other companies out there that make stage balls that are 100mm, but these seem to be the softest. They have some give, and they're a little more forgiving when you hit yourself with them. So my rope that I use is by a company called Global FMS. It's just a derby rope. It's 3/8 inch MPF or MFP, which is multi-filament polypropylene rope. It's great stuff. It's super soft. It'll last forever. I'm using the palm grips from Lantern Smith. I get the Lantern Smith palm grips from firetoys.com along with my Mr. Babashi stage balls. I will eventually be selling these on my website, so check the links in the description below, and hopefully I'll have them up for sale soon. The bearings that I use, these are super nice bearings. They're a double action ball bearing swivel, which allows the swivel to spin right here and right here. That means they last a lot longer and they spin forever. They're the only true stainless steel ball bearing swivel that I've actually been able to find. A lot of companies claim they're stainless steel, but they're just nickel plated. I don't know what they actually use, but they don't seem to hold up as well. These are number 7s. They're 550-pound test. They're by Croc, Bill Fisher double ball bearing swivels. They're pretty expensive. If you look them up online, there's multiple sources out there selling them. You can find these in 10 packs and seems to save yourself a bit of money. The lights that I use in the end of these are by Night Eyes. These are just little keychain lights that have a little carabiner in there. Once you take the carabiner out, that's what you're left with. They run off of 2016 batteries, 2 of them. They last about, supposedly believe they last 18 hours. I don't know if I can say they actually last that long. I guess it depends on what color setting you get. Red obviously will probably last longer. I have rainbow color in mine, or disco as they're called. Anyways, I'm going to get started on showing you how to put these capsules in the Poi here. So first of all, quick note, these have seams on them. You really can't tell them when when the balls are clean. They're pretty seamless looking, but they do have seams on them. The seam area of the ball seems to be a tad bit thicker than the outer edge of the ball. So with this one, this was my first design right here, and I put the pod capsule in running this way. On this setup I'm doing now, I am running it this way. That's because since this is thicker right here on the seam, this kind of recesses into the ball a little bit better and makes it flush. If you don't have it flush inside there, it kind of sticks out a little bit, which that one sort of sticks out. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it can nick up the plastic a little bit, but I've really abused these things and they keep going. So I mean, either way you choose is fine, but if you do it this on the seam here, it's a lot easier. You want to make sure that you get your holes for your handle or your leash and the capsule to be lined up perfectly. It's kind of hard to do that without the seam, but with the seam, what you want to do is, and I'm sure you can't probably see the seam on here, but find some place on the seam and make a little starter hole. Just poke it in there like that. Now what I do to figure out the exact opposite of that is I'll take a piece of wire The thin piece of wire seems to work good. And I'll make sure that the wire is at a 90 degrees bend, like that, and then stick it in my hole. Now, if you run this all the way to the opposite side, you will see the seam on the opposite side. The seam's running this way. I run the wire this way to figure out where my halfway point is. I mark where that halfway point is, and I bend it up, just like that. Now, I spin this 180 degrees to the other side to make sure that the seam is actually in the center and that this is indeed centered. It's about maybe a fraction of an inch off, maybe a 1/16 of an inch off from center. So there we go. So what I'll do now is I'll run the wire straight up the seam and then make a mark on the other side of the ball, right where I made the bend in the wire. Now I have a perfect hole going straight through. Now, when you're drilling these, you can use drill bits or whatever you like. Some people even use razor blades. I think that's not the best way to do it. You don't get the cleanest finish. But what I use is, they're called step bits. They are a all-in-one bit. So they start off at like a 1/4 inch and then go up to, 3/4 or even bigger, depending on the size bit that you get. If you're going to use regular bits, I would recommend starting with a small bit and then drilling bigger sizes. And bigger sizes don't start off right away with a 5/8 inch bit. That's the size of hole that you want. But if you start with the 5/8 inch bit on here and just start drilling, it's probably the bit is probably going to walk all over this and not give you a clean hole. So even with my step bit, I still use a smaller bit to start my pilot hole. So alrighty. Now I don't start my pilot hole on the other side yet until I get my main 5/8 inch hole drilled through here. The reason that is because even as careful as you can sometimes still make the bit walk over and it'll be a little off center from the seam. So if you do that, then you'll just have to make up on the other side with a, put the hole in a different spot. Anyways, with this bit, I put a little piece of tape right here because when this is, it's a white piece of tape, when this is spinning, it's kind of hard to see which hole is which that you want to end on. So I do it all the way up until I see the white hole start to disappear, or the white tape. Now you really want to be careful when you're drilling into this that you get it perfectly straight. If you don't get it perfectly straight, it's just not going to quite sit in there. The capsule's not going to quite sit in there right. So take your time. Start slowly with it, and then you can start faster and it'll really start taking it away. I'm a little not straight, so I'm going to kind of adjust that right now because I still have 2 more hole sizes before I get to the proper 1/8 or 5/8 inch hole diameter. There you go. Now, if for whatever reason you're drilling into this and you can't, there'll be a little piece of really thin plastic or rubber, whatever this is made out of, that didn't get taken off. You can use a Dremel or some kind of even razor blade. I use a Dremel with this little barrel sander on here. I'll stick it in the hole first, and then I'll turn it on while it's inside the ball, and then barely just tap it, and it cleans it up really nice. So now I'm going to make sure that my hole did indeed get centered on this seam, and it looks like it did. So now I'll go to the other side, find my other hole, which kind of hard to see because I really didn't press it very hard. I guess it's that one right there. And I'll do a pilot hole on this one as well with a smaller bit. For this part, I recommend actually using just drill bits and not the step bit, because it with your step bit, sometimes on the lower settings of the step bit, it doesn't drill in as far, and so you'll start to, if I can explain this right, you'll start to go into the next size hole before this 3/8 inch part section right here goes all the way in. So I just use drill bits for this part. The other side doesn't really matter, because if you have a slightly bigger hole starting on the very top part, that's where your capsule recesses into the ball. There you go. Now, I know you'll probably want to go to a bigger size bit. You'll probably feel like 1/2 inch is going to make this rope fit a little easier, but trust me on this, that if you have a tighter rope, the rope is tighter in the ball, and it will just feel a lot better. I've drilled a 1/2 inch before into one of these, and it just made the rope kind of feel sloppy in there. When you go to put the rope in, you kind of like push it in. Make sure your rope end is melted a little bit, and it has some kind of a hard end, so you can push the rope through. So push it through a little bit, twist it back on the rope, push it a little further through, and just keep doing that until you get it into the ball a little bit. Once you get it into the ball, you can push the ball so it's flat till the rope sticks out the head, and pull it through. See, it makes it nice and tight right there. Okay, the next thing we have to deal with is the capsules. The capsules, make sure when you get the capsules, you get the short shells. You can call Flowtoys or email them and tell them that you want the short shells. These are $5 a piece. The short shells just fit much better into here. Now, when you get the shells, you'll see on the new ones they have, let's see what I do with those. They have little molded piece of plastic right here that makes the ring not perfectly round. And I guess it's probably to hold this ring right here, this rubber ring, onto the capsule a little bit better, but I'm not too sure what that's for. But what I do is I grind that out, so when the capsule's in the ball, it actually will fit flush inside there. So what I did with this one is I took a little Dremel. You can use a file, whatever you have accessible, but I use a Dremel, and I go in here with my Dremel tool and just cut this out right here like that, until you don't see a piece of plastic sticking out there. Anyways, once you get the capsule ground out as you're supposed to, you're going to want to drill this part out. This is where the rope goes. The rope originally for these, I think, were probably 1/4 inch. I drilled mine out to a let's see, what size? 5/16. 5/16 makes the 3/8 inch rope fit through here a lot better. Now, the 3/8 inch rope Oh, by the way, if you're going to drill in here with drill bits, got to be really careful because your bit's going to want to kind of catch the edge of this and like kind of break it into little pieces. You don't want to do that. So just do it really slowly, or if you use one of these, it really just seems to do the job a lot better because of how this is tapered right here on the next size up. It just makes it nice and smooth and doesn't tear chunks out of this when you don't want it. What you want to do next is to get this big 3/8 inch rope into your 5/16 hole, which can be a little difficult because when you try to close the capsule over the rope, you'll a lot of times get threads of the rope stuck in between the seams of the capsule. So what I figured out how to do is use some floss. Get yourself a nice section of floss, kind of knot in the floss, and then run your rope through that hole. Now what you're going to want to do is get the rope nice and tight and run it around the rope a few times, or quite a few times actually, back or over and over it until you get about a 1/4 inch or so of floss over the rope. About like that, and then you'll run your floss all the way back over it a couple times until you get to the other side of the floss, and then tie a knot in it. Now you need to cut your rope. Now you can use scissors, but what I find that when you use scissors with this stuff, it kind of just goes all over the place and your scissors might not cut it very well. So I use these needle nose, or wire cutters. They're like DeWalt wire cutters that I got from Home Depot. And I will go about a 1/4 inch away from the floss and then cut it flat all the way across. And now I need to melt the rope. Now you can use a torch on this, but I recommend using a lighter if you can, just because a torch might be faster, but a lot of times if it's too hot, the plastic will break down once it's re-solidified. So if you have a lower setting on a torch or a lighter, it seems to work really well. So what I do is heat it up evenly all the way around it until you get this kind of uniform looking bulb or mushroom cap on top of the rope, and then you want to flatten that out. I use a flat surface. A metal surface seems to work better. It keeps the fiber, or it keeps the plastic from sticking to something else, like if you use a lighter. But that's what you're left with. Now if it's not perfectly round, you can go around it with a a little file or scissors or whatever and fix that up. But now since we use that floss on there, we can stick the rope inside the capsule and the floss goes right through the rope hole, and there you go. Now these capsules come with little rubber O-rings on them, the little white ones, and they're okay, but I prefer to use, especially when you're using a thicker rope like this, you're using a heavier poi head, I prefer to get this a little tighter than those O-rings will do. Sometimes the rope will pull out if you're really hard on your poi. So I get a little piece of wire and run it around there. Get it nice and tight. Use some pliers to get it even tighter if you can. And then cut the wire off and then fold back this little piece of wire that you'll have left. Now you just pull the capsule through the poi. This first time it can be tricky. First couple times it can be kind of tricky to get the poi capsule to go through, the pod poi capsule to go through this hole. So what I do is I kind of spin it while pushing through, and once you get this in here, if you have to pull it out to charge it, you don't have to pull the capsule all the way out. You can pull it out halfway to access your charging port. So kind of pulling the rope as well, make sure it's getting fed through that hole. What I do is I kind of pinch right here so that when I'm pushing on this, the plastic doesn't collapse and push back into the ball. So keep pushing it until it pops into place, just like that. There you go. Now on the other end, you can do the same thing that I just did on that end, which is just melt it once you get it fed through your poi handle or whatever you choose to use, and then melt it and then flatten it out again, and you don't even have to tie a knot in your rope on the end of your handle. It's strong enough you can hang from this stuff once you've melted it properly. As a matter of fact, my poi that I use with the swivels, you can hang from this. Just I can pull it as much as I want and it will not break free. So anyways, thanks for watching this part of the video. Please feel free to comment if you have any questions. Check out my other videos. It'll show you how to do the swivels and the lights on the handles if you want those, and any other videos that I have. Thanks for watching.